joining us today.
Hi, Diana. How are you? And thank you for having me. Greatly
Well,
appreciate it.
I really appreciate all the work that you've been doing for the endometriosis community at large. It's because of you that we were able to help pass historic legislation in New York State. And you were one of the first to get behind that bill so that menstrual disorder education was taught throughout the schools in New York State.
Well, thank you. I always say that education is a key to prevention. And when the EndoFound and Dr. Setchkin came in to speak to me about it, I said, oh, this is a great opportunity to make awareness for girls. And as they were talking to me, it brought to mind one of my son's old girlfriends who suffered incredibly every month with her period. And I didn't have that experience. But hearing them speak about it, I said, oh my goodness, this could be, because we always suffered in silence, right? You never really talked about it. So I thought that this was a great bill to bring forward, for education for young women.
What was your experience regarding endometriosis? Was it something that you knew about when you were in school?
No, I really didn't know about it. And like I said, most girls suffered in silence when I went to school. You knew that just to expect that you're going to be in a little bit of pain, and some had more than others, but never really spoke about it. And it really wasn't until my son had a girlfriend that it was just seemed abnormal to me. But at the time, I didn't know to talk about it. So when the doctor was giving me all this information, I said, oh my gosh, this is something that we should know that we can do something about, and know that, let girls have this information so that, they can talk to their doctors, their nurses, start that conversation going so that they can, make sure that they're being taken care of.
Right. Like the biggest point of that and the takeaway is period pain is not normal. Minor cramps, minor fatigue, sure, but not when it becomes all encompassing with your life. When you brought this idea of a bill forward in New York State, what was the initial reaction?
Well, we did pass it in the Senate originally, but the Assembly had not passed it. And then, there was a change of things in Albany. And so I partnered with a friend across the aisle, Senator Monica Martinez. And we had, of course, Assemblywoman Linda Rosenthal in the Assembly, who had picked it up with us originally. And she had done the tampon tax with me, too. She was a real advocate, for these things. And so it was great. So Monica, Senator Martinez, we had a bipartisan support. And we passed it, and the Assembly passed it as well. We're just waiting to see, we don't have an active update yet. And Assemblywoman Linda Rosenthal had initially, we had removed the tax on tampons. It was called the Tampon Tax bill. So, but it removed the tax on tampons that, for over 30 years, I think people had tried to do that. And that was able to be done. So.
Have you noticed now your years in the political arena that there is a movement towards thinking differently about what has been considered women's issues? Like you said, tampon tax, menstrual education. Has there been an evolution of sorts?
Well, it's interesting. My first year in the Senate, which was 2015, not that long ago, when I would travel with some of my colleagues, they would think that I was the assistant. People wouldn't normally think that as a woman, I was the state senator. In fact, my first day in Albany, there was another woman. She was really tall, taller than I am. She came up to me and she gave me a high five. And she said, yes, another woman. And she was from across the aisle. So for us, it's not so much about, the party, it's about getting things done. And I think as women, we do that. This right here is proof. So.
Right. And you're continuing your mission for getting things done, which I so admire, with the campaign that you've partnered up with EndoFound, Endometriosis Foundation of America. That's our little nickname, EndoFound. PeriodNow, which is, well, I'll let you explain it since you're so much behind it. What is PeriodNow?
Yeah, I think it's great that there's awareness. When I grew up, we didn't really, if you had pain with your period or elevated pain, nobody really talked about it. You suffered in silence. And it really, like I said, wasn't until my son's girlfriend, who suffered terribly with pains, and it just seemed so abnormal to me. And then when the EndoFound came in to talk to me with Dr. Setkin, who was such a great advocate about, getting out awareness and talking about it, I said, oh, let's do a bill. I always believe education is the key to prevention, and I just thought it was so important that we did this.
Mhm.
And it worked out great, and I can't thank them enough for coming to us with that.
Oh, and then in terms of PeriodNow and that campaign, that helps to give period products like tampons, sanitary napkins, anything that's related to menstrual hygiene to people in New York communities that might not have access, who might be suffering from what's called period poverty, correct?
When I think about what we went through with COVID and how so many people, were working, there were just so many different crises that were going on. And it was awesome with PeriodNow that we were able to supply those products to women. And when you think about it, women should not have to make a decision between paying for a meal and paying for a sanitary product. So I really loved partnering with you guys. I think it was awesome, and look forward to doing more of that in the future too. And like I said, it always brings an awareness to more people to know that, this is something that's really needed. And it really helped a lot of women. There were thousands of products that you guys provided. It was great. People don't think of that. I think when they're making like donations to the different groups, like that women need those products too. So that was really awesome.
Well, that's something with PeriodNow that everyone takes it for granted, that when women have their period, it's a quiet thing. It's a silent thing.
Mhm.
Nobody announces like, hey, I have my period. I have to go buy some tampons.
Yeah.
So it doesn't click the way that you need to go buy food or milk or bread, that there are people who can't afford to get their menstrual products, that they're expensive. And like you said, they were taxed in New York up until very recently ago.
Yes.
So is that something that you think PeriodNow is also bringing attention to? Not just those in need, but for those that might have the privilege of being able to have the money to have it, knowing that there are those who don't.
Oh, absolutely. I can't thank you guys for the work that they've done with the PeriodNow. I think it's so important. So and I appreciate it, because there are women that can't afford it. And when you look at the price of the products, they are not inexpensive.
Yeah, they're pricey. No,
Yeah.
thank you for everything that you're doing and continue to do, and that you were able to get a bill turned into a law that now is going to turn into an educational curriculum for those in New York State. And I hope at some point we can get this into federal, so that it's part of every child's education, so that they can recognize the signs and symptoms of when menstrual disorders are happening, and they can get intervention sooner and a diagnosis sooner. So thank you for all your work on education and advocacy for the endo community.